Hi everyone, good morning. 6 o'clock here on your Tuesday. It is January 30th.
It is.
This has been either a really long month or this month went by really fast. You're kind of in one of two camps, I think.
I'm in that whole, I think it's January like 61st.
Pretty much, yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Tim Pham.
And I'm Channing Curtis. Thanks so much for joining us on this Tuesday. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick, though, is busy in the Weather Center because he's telling us all about this fog that we're experiencing, Thomas.
Yeah, it's back to fog. For me, it feels like November 82nd or something like that, because it feels like most every day this winter has been plagued with some kind of fog coverage, and today is one of our more widespread days in terms of the fog overall. So we have dense fog advisories until 9 a.m. for most of the inland northwest. The only exception is the Palouse. Notice that Pullman and Lewiston all reporting good visibility, so no fog in that region, meaning that those will be the spots that end up the warmest today. But we do have near zero visibility in Spokane, half-mile or less visibility all across North Idaho. Deer Park and even central Washington has lots of reports at around that quarter-mile mark. There's your live picture over Riverfront Park. Not as bad as yesterday, but it's a lot worse here at our Southville studios as well as out by the airport. So some of the higher elevations of Spokane County getting hit a lot worse with that fog currently.
Happening today, Spokane Public Schools is holding a meeting to talk about a bond and replacement levy on the ballot for voters who live in the city of Spokane. The levy would support several different services and programs, while the bond supports updating and improving school buildings. If either fail, it could impact schools across the city. Tonight's meeting is at Gary Middle School from 5:15 to 6:15 in the library. It is open to the community and no RSVP is required. If you can't make it, another meeting is happening at Chase Middle School on Thursday. A reminder, ballots are due in 2 weeks from today on February 13th.
Well, in the meantime, Spokane Valley is talking about hiring new officers for their police department. And this morning, our Nicole Hernandez is joining us live from the Spokane Valley City Hall. So, Nicole, can you tell us more about who was behind this decision?
Yeah, Channing, so Spokane Valley City Council is who's talking about making this decision tonight at their city council meeting. The way it works as of right now is Spokane Valley partners with the Spokane County Sheriff's Office to have officers specifically for the city. As of right now, there are 91 people who work fully as Spokane Valley Police Department officers. Back at the end of 2022, though, the department hired a consulting group to come in and look at their workflow. They suggested Spokane Valley PD should add 25 new officers. Of that 25, 10 would be patrol officers and 7 would be investigators. Adding these officers would cost the city more than $6 million, but the police department says the city needs it. In the last 15 years, Spokane Valley's population has gone up by 20,000 people. In just the last 5 years, the amount of people calling the police department every year has gone up by 8,000. And that's not including crime check calls, that is just calls for service. Because of this, officer response times have been longer and officers have not had as much time to just patrol the community. The police department says that their goal is to have all of these new officers in place by 2026. For now, though, the Spokane Valley City Council is just discussing this as an option. In Spokane Valley, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Meanwhile, the Spokane City Council met last night to pass a few ordinances.
So the first is an emergency ordinance that will help turn a section of 29th Avenue on the South Hill into a more pedestrian-friendly street. Now, the ordinance prevents new drive-through businesses, but it does not impact the ones that are currently in existence. The area in question is primarily between Martin and Fisk. That vote passed 5-2. And city council members passed an ordinance which lays out how the city will act upon complaints about statues that have been deemed racist or offensive on city property.
KREM 2's Kyle Simchuk explains what it means this morning.
This statue outside the Spokane Club celebrates Spokane veteran John Monahan. However, some community members say it also perpetuates racism. The plaque below the statue refers to Samoan people as savage foes.
It's 2024. We don't call people savages anymore. That's just not a thing we do. And so to have a piece of city property with the label calling a group of people savages is probably something we should all collectively say is bad.
According to the Spokane Historical Society, Monahan was in the first graduating class at Gonzaga University and the first person in Washington State to attend the Naval Academy. Monahan served as an officer aboard the USS Philadelphia, which destroyed native villages in Samoa as the U.S. battled the British to gain control. Monahan was killed by natives in one of those battles. His statue was dedicated in 1906, and it stood here ever since.
If there's such a problem with the word savage, maybe put a sign there and explain, because we can't change history.
City council members heard testimony tonight from those who want the statue to stay and others who want it torn down.
It is so painful hearing how harmful this statue is to Samoans because it uplifts somebody who killed their ancestors. The statue sends a message that Samoans and Pacific Islanders are unwelcome here in Spokane.
The Spokane Human Rights Commission passed a resolution 2 years ago in support of removing the statue, but the city had no clear process to act or respond to their recommendation. Tonight, council members passed an ordinance to consider and act upon community members' concerns regarding institutional statements, names, or monuments on property owned by the city.
This is a small step in righting a wrong. I really look forward to us passing this.
The ordinance passed 5-2. Councilman Michael Cathcart and Jonathan Bingle voted against it. Bingle believes both sides of this debate could meet in the middle.
There are two open sides to the Monahan statue where we could add a modern context. So first off, we can address what has been said for over 100 years on that statue. Obviously, calling an entire group of people savages is completely unacceptable.
To be clear, council members did not vote to remove the statue. The ordinance passed simply creates a process to consider and act upon community members' concerns concerning city-owned property. In Spokane, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
This morning, the execution of Idaho's longest-serving death row inmate is moving forward. A parole board denied Thomas Creech's appeal to commute his sentence to life in prison. Creech has already had a death sentence commuted before. He was originally sentenced to death for murdering 2 Idaho men in the 70s. That sentence was commuted. He then murdered a fellow inmate and was sentenced to death again. So Creech is a self-proclaimed serial killer and has admitted to killing dozens of people. Just last week, he was named as a suspect in a decades-old California cold case murder. Governor Brad Little released a statement saying in part, quote, "As governor, I have zero intention of taking any action that would halt or delay Creech's execution. His lawful and just sentence must be carried out as ordered by the court. Justice has been delayed long enough," end quote. Meanwhile, a date has not been set for the execution.
It is 6:08 right now. Let's take a look at your morning rush. More news in less time. The Spokane County Sheriff's Office is asking for your help identifying a man who tried to break into an ATM with a power saw. Take a look. This all happened back on January 7th around 3 in the morning. 2 men pulled up to the First Interstate Bank on Francis in North Spokane and tried to saw into the ATM, causing a lot of damage. So if you can help ID that person that you just saw on your screen, please call the number there that's at the bottom of your screen right now. Well, Boeing has withdrawn a request to exempt its 737 MAX 7 jets from required FAA safety regulations. The planes, which are not yet certified to fly, have documented issues with the anti-icing system. It can cause a piece of the engine's casing to fall off, leaving the engine exposed. Boeing now says it will address this with an engineering solution that will be completed when the FAA certifies the plane. Now, this comes as Boeing faces a fallout from a door plug falling off of a MAX 9 jet mid-flight just a few weeks ago. New research from UW Medicine suggests that you might not need to get as many steps in as you think. According to UW, taking just 7,000 steps every day can help improve your heart health. However, studies show it's important to increase how much you move. Even adding just a couple thousand steps to your routine can lower your health risk. And take a look at this video of coyotes using the I-90 wildlife overcrossing. You can see them running in the snow. It looks like they're kind of having a good time, enjoying it as well. Now, Washed Up posted the video on social media with the caption, "If you're cold, they're cold, but do not bring them inside." Don't bring them in your house.
Doing that.
And that's a look at your morning rush.
Developing this morning, more than 100 people who work as food and concession workers at the Spokane International Airport have been told they are losing their job. The people work for the company HMS Host, which had a contract to operate the restaurants and shops at the airport. The Spokane Airport Board is expected to approve a new operator next month. As a result, layoff notices went out to about 119 employees for HMS Host. KREM 2 News has been reporting on this issue since last summer when workers asked the airport to include a retention plan as a part of its operator changes.
Then as we take a live look at street conditions across Spokane, this is at 14th Avenue and Lincoln. Very foggy, especially as you head up the hill and towards where we are at, which is on 41st and Regal. Well, it is very much foggy just straight outside our studios here. So we definitely have some thick fog across most of the inland northwest. The only spots where it's not is on the Palouse, and you can actually tell the difference even just on the temperatures right now. It's in the 40s in Pullman and Moscow. In fact, Moscow is the warmest spot in the inland northwest right now at 47 degrees. So when you break that temperature inversion, which is when the cold air settles in towards the ground, well then, everything flips back to normal and you get the warmest air on the ground as opposed to aloft. But it's 33 in Coeur d'Alene, 32 in Deer Park, and just 35 right here in Spokane. Once that fog breaks by this afternoon, that allows for that temperature inversion to depart, and we'll see those temperatures in the upper 40s with a little bit of sunshine and maybe a little bit of luck. We still could hit 50 degrees this afternoon.